Alright, what is up, everybody? We are back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today, we are going to be talking about what's left for the final week of the NBA season. Crazy that we're already here, already about playoff time and final week of the season, and there's still a lot left to be decided. So I'm going to be talking about what's left to be decided and what could happen for the final week of the NBA season here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, getting closer and closer as the days go on. So all support around the channel, be very much appreciated. Thanks for my Twitter and all that stuff down in the description below. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So we're in the final week in the NBA season. There's still a lot to decide in both conferences. Obviously one conference may be a lot more exciting than the other, but still there's a lot left to be decided. So I'm going to go in through some of the playoff races and see what could happen. So start our East. The top couple of seeds in the East, not really much more. The Cavs already clinched #1 spot, so there's not really a fight for that, but they can get the franchise record for wins in a season for the Cavs if they win out. If they win out, then they get 67 wins, which is the most in Cavs franchise history. So I guess that's cool. Boston doesn't have anything else to play for. Then you get to 3 through 6, and 3 through 6, there's still a little bit more to be decided. The Knicks probably going to be at 3. Right now they're sitting kind of comfortably at 3, but it's not a guarantee. They're only 3 games above the Indiana Pacers. Look at the Knicks' schedule. They have a top 10 hardest schedule left in basketball. They play the Cavs, Celtics, and Pistons, all teams that, are good teams. Well, depending on the Cavs and Celtics might not play anybody in those games, who knows. Then they also get a Brooklyn game and a Phoenix game. So it looks like if they just go decent, they don't have to win out, but if they could just be decent throughout that stretch, I think they can do it. The Pacers are still in play for the 3rd seed, only 3 games behind New York. But they're still right now kind of holding on to that 4th seed right now with Milwaukee and Detroit trying to climb up there to get that home court advantage in the first round. Indiana, right now they're 3 games above Milwaukee, 3.5 games above Detroit. But Indiana has a top 5 hardest schedule left in basketball. They still play 2 Cavs games, which is kind of crazy. But they do, again, the Cavs, who knows if they play anybody, who knows if they rest, those guys the last couple games of the season, who knows. But right now it looks like the Pacers, they're going to play the Cavs, and they also play the Nuggets, who are obviously, that tough Western Conference race they're going to play. They also play the Wizards and Magic, though. The Wizards should be an easy one. The Magic, maybe not so much. So the Pacers have a hard schedule. I think they have the hardest schedule left in the Eastern Conference. The Pacers do. So that'll be a little bit tough, but, Indiana holding on to that 4th seed. Then you have Milwaukee and Detroit back there. Milwaukee's right now 5th seed. They're 3 games behind Indiana, but they're also only a half game above Detroit. So really, they're trying to play the role of like, all right, who do you want to face? If we lose out on home court advantage, which is not, like we still could get home court advantage depending on how the Pacers do. And the Bucks right now, they have one of the easier schedules left. They play Minnesota, Detroit twice, but then they also play the Pelicans twice. So Milwaukee trying to play that role of like, all right, do we want to play Indiana in the first round, or do we want to play New York in the first round? It's not an easy choice, either one. But right now they're trying to do that. And then Detroit's right there, at the 6th seed, only a half game behind Milwaukee. So them and Milwaukee, that 5th and 6th matchup is going to be very interesting to watch. Who's going to play Indiana, who's going to play New York. Those are 2, very tough matchups. But Detroit, we'll see how that, goes. They're 3.5 games behind Indiana, too. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that maybe they climb all the way up to 4, depending on how they end their season off. They do have a hard schedule. They play Milwaukee twice and New York, for the last 3 games. But then they also play Sacramento once. So yeah, and then you get to the Eastern Conference play-in, which is still kind of a little bit, we know what the teams are going to be. We're just thinking about what the, seeding is. So Orlando's sitting 7th right now. Then Atlanta is only a game and a half, behind Orlando. And then you have Chicago, only a game behind Atlanta and 2.5 games out behind Orlando. Then Miami's only a half game behind Chicago, a game and a half behind Atlanta, and 3 games behind Orlando. So there's only a 3-game or less separation between the 4 play-in teams. Out of all these teams, Orlando has the toughest schedule left. They play Boston and Indiana still, but then they also play Atlanta twice, which those 2 are going to be huge games. For those 2 games can maybe decide who gets home court advantage in that first play-in series. Atlanta has the 2nd easiest schedule left in NBA. They play Orlando twice, but they also play Brooklyn, Philly, and Utah. So they should get a couple wins and maybe can climb up. And if they win one of those Orlando games, win 2 of those 3 other games, they could probably jump up to 7 and have home court in a play-in series, which is nice. Chicago has an easy schedule, almost bottom 5 easy schedule. They still play Cleveland once, but then they also play Washington, Charlotte, Philly, and they play Miami, which that's also going to be a very tough game. And Miami has the easiest schedule left in the NBA. 4 games they play against Washington, New Orleans, Philly, and Chicago. So that Miami-Chicago game is going to be very huge as well for the 9-10 matchup. So the Eastern Conference, again, it's not a very exciting race, and these teams, whoever makes it, these combination of these two teams are probably going to get destroyed in the first round by Cleveland and Boston. But still, I guess a race to watch, you know. But now going to the Western Conference, this is where things get absolutely nuts. So OKC locked up number 1. They locked up number 1 for a while now. And the only thing they're playing for is they're 1 win away from setting a franchise record for most wins for them. You know, they win one more game, they're at 65 wins, which is the most in Thunder history. So that's what they're really trying to do now. So yeah, and maybe trying to play spoiler for some of these teams. The Rockets are sitting at second, kind of a little bit. They have a 3.5 game lead over the Lakers. They do have the third hardest schedule left in the league though. Their next 4 games are all against teams that are fighting for spots. Houston's last 4 games are against the Lakers, the Rockets, the Warriors. I'm sorry, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Warriors, and the Clippers. So the Rockets are going to play all teams that are still playing right now, are fighting for positioning. So those are going to be 4 basically playoff games, you know, before the playoffs for the Rockets to get kind of settled in. So Houston trying to hold on to that. And then you get 3 through 8 right now is insane. The 3 through 8 seeds are separated by about 2-ish games, which is wild. The Lakers are sitting third right now. They're 3.5 games behind Houston, trying to catch them. And the Lakers actually have the hardest schedule left in the NBA. These last 5 games, they play against the Thunder twice still. They play against Houston, and then they play against Portland and Dallas. So really, those 2 OKC teams are those 2 OKC games are carrying, you know, the strength of schedule. But still, those are 2 very tough games, and the Rockets who are they're trying to catch. So Lakers have a toughness. They have the Nuggets right there at 4. The Nuggets are half game behind the Lakers, and 4 games behind Houston. So it's not impossible that they can go catch them. Denver, their schedule, a harder one. They play against the Rockets, the Pacers, and the Grizzlies, but they also play against Sacramento. So they're playing against teams that are actually still playing as well. Then you have the Warriors at 5th. The Warriors only a half game behind the Nuggets, only a game behind the Lakers, and 4.5 games behind the Rockets. It's going to be very, very tough for the Warriors to get to that second spot, but I don't think it's out of the question. Golden State left. They play Houston. They play the Clippers. They play Phoenix, Portland, and San Antonio. So not a super about middle of the pack schedule left for the Warriors, and it's crazy that they're still in play for a 3rd seed, only a game out behind 3rd. And then you have the Wolves, Clippers, and Grizzlies are all tied at 6, 7, 8 with the same record. The Wolves right now are 6, the Clippers are 7, the Grizzlies are 8, but they're all 46 and 32. And yeah, all only a half game behind the 5th seed, a game out of 4th, and 1.5 games out of 3rd. So, like the Wolves, Clippers, and Grizzlies are all one. They could be 3rd or they could be 8th, which is an insane disparity between being a 3rd seed, being comfortably, you know, holding a home court advantage in a series, and being an 8th seed where you got to win a game to play the Thunder in the first round. So that's an insane, you know, disparity, insane range. But that's just how crazy the West is. These 3 teams are scheduled left. Minnesota actually has the easiest schedule left in the Western Conference. They play against Memphis and Milwaukee, but they also play a Jazz game and a Nets game. So they have the luxury of playing 2 teams that are trying to lose and trying to tank. But they also play, again, Memphis. That's going to be a huge game, and then Milwaukee's still playing for something. The Clippers, they have about a middle-of-the-pack schedule left. They have the hardest schedule out of these 3 teams left, though. Clippers, they play the Rockets and the Warriors still, but they also play San Antonio and Sacramento. So those Warriors-Rockets games are going to be tough. And the Grizzlies, they have below average schedule left. They play Denver and Minnesota once, and then they play Charlotte and Dallas. Going to be insane races to watch, especially the Grizzlies Warriors game, Grizzlies Wolves game is going to be huge. There's someone playing crazy loud music outside. Anyway, so yeah, that is the race everyone wants to see. I mean, 3 through 8, the Lakers, Nuggets, Warriors, Timberwolves, Clippers, Grizzlies, all in this fight from, again, being a 3rd seed and being an 8th seed. You know, and then you have a little bit of a gap. Then the bottom of the Western Conference, the last 2 playing spots right now is owned by Dallas and Sacramento, where Dallas has a 1-game lead over the Kings down there. And then you have the Suns still trying to make it. The Suns are only 2 games behind out of the play-in. The Suns right now have one of the hardest schedules left. They play against the Thunder, Knicks, and Warriors. They also play Sacramento, who they're trying to fight catch with, and San Antonio. So they have a tough schedule left. And then the Portland Trailblazers are still kind of in the mix. The Blazers are only a half game behind the Suns. They are 3.5 games out of the play-in, so it's going to be very tough and very unlikely that they make the play-in. But there's still a chance. And Portland has not a hard schedule left. I mean, they play against the Lakers and Warriors, but they also play the Jazz and the Spurs. So obviously, the Lakers and Warriors game is going to be very tough, and if they can, I guess, at the very least, play spoiler and maybe win one of those 2 games and knock one of the Lakers or Warriors down a spot, that would be very, very interesting. But it's not impossible if that Portland gets a play-in appearance. So yeah, this race is going to be very, very tough. The teams with the toughest schedules left are the Lakers, the Kings, the Rockets, the Suns, and the Pacers are the 5 hardest schedules left. The 5 easiest schedules left is Philly, who isn't in Boston, Toronto, Atlanta, Miami. So Atlanta, Miami is the only 2 teams that really matter in that. Toronto, Philly already know what they're tanking, and Boston already has their spot kind of locked in. So, I mean, it's going to be a very, very interesting last week. I think there might be a game going on right now, actually, as I'm recording this. So yeah, we're all going to be on the lookout, all going to be on the watch. Very excited to see how this Western Conference shakes up and see who plays who and who gets to the play-in, because that's, again, a crazy disparity from being a 3rd seed and being an 8th seed. And in the East, I guess, the 4, 5, 6 matchup could be interesting, and the play-in matchup, I guess, could be a little bit entertaining. But really, everyone's focused on that Western Conference middle, where everything is kind of really scattered right now. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think will happen. Predict what you think the standings will be by the end of the season, because this is going to get very crazy. I mean, this is playoff basketball. This is April playoff basketball. We're getting an early glimpse of it right now. But yeah, it's going to be a day. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, liking, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.